G'day beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at my Big Kev build for Narbash. This is the build that you would have seen me using in the gameplay that I posted yesterday. It is a growth and order build. Obviously you want a bit of order on your supports. I feel like it's a bit of a necessity. Not really, you can go any way you want, but wards are very good, which means we need a bit of order. So to start off with, we have Lamplighter. Lamplighter is a very cheap 300 gold card that gives you 2 shadow wards. It's consumable, so it's gone once you use your 2 wards. Keep in mind the fact that you do have 2. There are occasions where you will have placed 1 and then back, and then when you go and place 1 ward down, the next time you go out, you'll lose this card. So it's often very useful if you know you're going to back and you've got 1 ward left, go and use that extra ward. We then have Chanting Shaman. I don't use this too often, but as is the case with a lot of builds, there are always going to be 1 or 2 cards that you don't tend to use too often. Chanting Shaman gives you 50% extra mana regen for each nearby ally, so it can be handy. We then have Coin Master. Just keep in mind, we'll go over every card in here and then I will sort of explain what my 3 main early game cards are and what my main build is, what I plan to get for my main build. So Coin Master gives you 8 bonus gold every 10 seconds or 16 bonus gold if you're out of combat. Being a support, you're pretty much, while you're sitting there with your carry, you're always out of combat, so this is very handy. Next up we have an Exoskeleton, which reduces damage taken from enemy heroes by 8. It doesn't sound like much, but early game it really can help. It's very worthwhile taking this card. So if you scroll down, next up we have Radiant Healer. It's 3 intellect cost, gives you 190 health, and it gives everyone around you 5 health regen. Yes, Narbash is a healer, so he kind of doesn't need this, but it just helps me to be able to heal people up a little bit without having to actually use my mana pool early game. It's not very big early game, so I kind of need to heal as much as I can without using my skills. But with that said, I don't always take it. The next card we have is Protective Sentry. Obviously, Shadow Ward gives basic armor to nearby allies. It's on a 65-second cooldown. You can only place 1 down every 65 seconds, but you don't lose the card, and you also gain an extra 84% mana regen. So it's very handy. I tend to take this a lot later because although you can keep it on the whole time and keep dropping wards every 65 seconds, I just feel like having the ability to drop 2 whenever you want with Lamplighter is just a little bit better for most part. Next up we have Brilliant Fortification. It costs 1,000 gold and 4 intellect. I don't generally use this as part of my main build. This is a card that I will back and put on if I have to. So coming towards the later stages of the game, I always try to keep myself, if I know I'm going to need it, keep myself 1,000 coins so that I can put this on. It will give you 12 power and 72% mana regen, and all allied structures are immune to damage for 6 seconds when you toggle this, and it's on a 90-second cooldown. This can be very clutch and save you in a lot of situations, but considering the fact that it's 12 power and 72% mana regen, there are better options for a card that you're going to keep on your deck at all times. Next up we have Gates of Salvation. This is another kind of situational card that I don't always use, but the fact that you get 80% mana regen and 25 ability armor is pretty bloody good. There's not that much that you would want to slot into that gives you this much ability armor, so it is very handy. It heals nearby allies for 225 health every 45 seconds, and then every time you purchase an attribute point, it will increase the frequency of healing by 2%. So that means that it will bring down the timer from 45 seconds by 2% every single time. So that means that it is nearly a second every time you buy an attribute point. Next up we have Spraken. You get 140 mana, 72% mana regen, so it's good for a support. And it is a toggleable where you actually select a character. So you will activate this, you will aim at a character, and then you will accept it. and you and the target ally gain 60% of your missing health and mana over 10 seconds. I find it can be a little bit buggy at times, and it just doesn't seem to do anything. But it is there because it can be a handy little healing card. Next up we have Vital Waters, and it's pretty easy to see why we're taking Vital Waters. You get 325 health, 6.6 health regen. Not really worried about the health regen, but health is nice, and the increase on all healing effects by 15% is very, very good. Narbash is in a good place with his healing right now, so this does very much help towards making his build a lot better. Then we have Domain of Stillness, 16 power, 230 mana, and it comes with group stasis. Every minute and a half, for 100 mana, you can stasis yourself and all nearby heroes for 2.5 seconds. I'm sure we all know what this does. It's very, very clutch. Can be anyway. And then we have Godmother Vigilant. This is always on my build. It allows me to get a lot more health. Once you slot it, you will be given 15 power, 565 health, and it will increase your max health by 15% once you equip the card. You will then gain an extra 1% of that max health for every attribute point that you purchase. Okay, so if we go back and we take a look, the way that I generally start this, and what I would recommend if you don't understand what I mean by what I'm about to say, go and watch my Narbash full gameplay, which I posted yesterday. What I will start with is I grab Coin Master first. So I will slot into Vitality, I will grab Coin Master, and then I sit in base until I get 300 coins. It might seem like that's going to take a long time, but it actually doesn't. Generally, by the time you pick this up, your carry has only just started getting last hit, so it's not that big of an issue. So once again, I will grab Vitality, grab Coin Master, and then grab Lamplighter. At some stage, I will back and get Exoskeleton. Okay, so that is pretty much my early game build. And then at some point during the game, I will replace Exoskeleton with Vital Waters, which is down here. Okay, and then my endgame builds most of the time will be Godmother Vigilant. I try to get Domain of Stillness on, so that puts us to 15 Vitality. So we only have 10 left. But what I generally try to do after that is go for Vital Waters a lot of the time. If Vision's not a problem, but it is normally, so it will end up being Domain of Stillness, Godmother Vigilant, and the Protective Sentry. Okay, so with that you'll end up with your wards. You'll have 84% mana regen on your wards. You will have an extra 230 mana, an extra 600 power, 16 power, an extra 15 power there, and 565 health, plus a lot of health. By the time I equip Godmother Vigilant, I normally end up at around about 3000 health, and I get to, before the game ends, about 3500 health. So it is quite nice. So that is my build that I run as far as cards go. As far as gems go, I don't use the level 1 gem on Vitality. I do, however, go for the level 2, and I take damage reduction. It reduces your basic damage taken by 10%. I then go into damage return 10% of basic damage taken, and I go for the ability armor one. Then I have my 25 slot Avenging Spells. When hit by enemy basic attack, your cooldowns are reduced by 0.3 seconds with health and ability armor. Then I have Auto Mana Potion. You could probably get away with not using this, but I just like to know that I'm going to get a little bit of a potion. It is on a 1 minute cooldown, but you can get a fair amount of mana back for that. I then take Experienced, which you could, I suppose, take Deadly Mana instead. At some stage it is going to help to build your mana pool up, but for the start of the game you're not really going to be doing anything with that. And then for my level 13 or slot 13, I take Mana Fountain, regen up to 10 mana per second based on missing mana. There are probably some better options as far as gems go, but these are just the ones that I go for. I like to use the Mana Fountain, so and I always try to, I'm going to cough, I feel like, I always try to go for the ability armor wherever I can, because it's pretty hard to come by. A lot of times the cards that give you ability armor aren't that great. So that is my build for Narbash, which I call Big Kev. It's been serving me pretty well. I do have a couple of other builds for him, but this is the most sort of safe meta-ish build that I have for him, having vision, a bit of tankiness in it. So give it a try. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and hopefully it serves you as well as it served me. But that's it, guys. So if you enjoyed the video in any way, shape or form, please smash the like button, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. As per usual, leave me a comment in the down there, and subscribe if you're not already, guys. But with that said, thank you so much for watching. I love you. Peace. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.